We live in an age of efficiency. Everything is automated, optimized, measured. We have apps that tell us how much sleep we've had, how many steps we've taken, how many calories we've burned, and yet something fundamental has been lost along the way: our humanity. Max Weber in the 20th century already saw this coming as an inevitable storm. He didn't just analyze the structures of modern capitalism, he foresaw the quiet tragedy that was coming. The more efficient we become, the less human we feel. For Weber, extreme efficiency was not neutral progress. It had a hidden cost, the cost of reducing everything, including human beings, to functions. You cease to be a creative, spiritual, spontaneous being and become a cog, a full analyst, an account executive, a human resource. And this transformation, unlike wars or revolutions, does not explode. It corrodes. You continue working, living, interacting, but with less and less soul. Efficiency is not neutral. It demands sacrifices. Less time to make mistakes, less space to create, less tolerance for the unexpected, less patience with what doesn't produce results. And little by little, everything that is deeply human begins to seem like a problem. Doubt becomes weakness. Pausing becomes unproductiveness. Emotion becomes noise. Care becomes delay. The irony: you believe you are evolving because you are producing more, solving more, providing more, but inside you are dying more. Weber called this the rationalization of social life. It is when the logic of the machine invades all spaces: work, relationships, free time, spirituality. Everything becomes a system, everything becomes a calculation, everything becomes a tool. And the human being, this complex, contradictory, sensitive, profound being, becomes an operator. You are no longer here to live. You are here to deliver. And that is why modern life, even full of achievements, seems so empty. Because it is efficient, but it is not meaningful. It is fast, but it has no direction. It is logical, but it has no soul. Weber saw this before anyone else. And his message was clear. If you keep measuring everything by what works, one day you'll forget how it made you feel. Max Weber identified something that few see. Modern efficiency has created a routine so perfect that there is no longer room for the unexpected, the symbolic, the spontaneous. Everything was organized: the schedule, the goal, the form, the metric. But in doing so, we kill what made us alive, the soul, because the soul is not logical, it is chaotic. It likes improvisation, contemplation, doubt. It needs useless time, silence, beauty, but efficiency does not tolerate this. It needs dedication, speed, and feedback. In today's world, you can't stop and feel. You have to keep going. There is no room for deep sadness, only for productivity with a smile on your face. There is no time for mourning, only for getting over it and moving on. There is no value in being present, only in looking busy. You've become a gear that turns, but doesn't choose its direction. You perform tasks, you complete cycles, you hit targets, but deep down, you don't know why you're doing all this anymore. Weber said that the rationalization of life creates an iron cage, a structure so efficient that it ends up imprisoning existence. And the worst part, this prison is invisible. You don't feel the weight of the bars, you feel the nameless anxiety, the fatigue that doesn't go away. The feeling that your life is useful, but without truth. That's why so many people collapse, break down, they freak out, get sick, go silent, because they're trying to live like machines with a soul that begs for meaning. And it's not because they are weak, it's because they were shaped to survive in a system that doesn't recognize their weaknesses. You're not burned out because you've done too much. You're burned out because you can't be who you are. Because every day you have to hide your tiredness, your doubts, your sensitivity to fit into the mold of someone efficient. But Weber gives us a thread of lucidity. What the system calls a failure may actually be the beginning of your liberation. Maybe your boredom is a cry for reunion. Maybe your pain is an attempt to wake up. Maybe your discomfort is the soul saying, "This is not life." And if you listen, even in silence, you start to leave the cage. Max Weber was one of the first to show that modern efficiency is not just a technical choice, it is a form of control. And the most dangerous thing is that it does not come with force, but with logic. It does not command, it persuades. It does not shout, it programs. You start to believe that only what is useful matters, that only what can be delivered matters, that being good means being fast, that being too human is a problem. Little by little, you stop listening to yourself. You feel guilty for resting, you feel weak for feeling. You feel inadequate for not adapting to a rhythm that crushes you. This is the cruelest dehumanization, the one that happens in silence with your own permission. You trade what you feel for what needs to be done. You trade what you love for what has a market. You trade what you dream of for what makes sense on your resume. And with every choice based on efficiency, you die a little inside. Weber called this the instrumentalization of social life. It's when people, relationships and experiences stop being ends in themselves and become tools. You meet someone and think, could this be an opportunity? You go to an event and ask yourself, will this improve my networking? You read a book and think, could this give me a competitive advantage? Everything becomes a resource. And when everything becomes a resource, nothing is sacred anymore. Not love, not time, not the soul. Efficiency creates a world where you know what to do with everything, except yourself. You have spreadsheets but no peace. You have strategies but no silence. You have goals but no meaning. Weber's question resonates even more strongly today. Are we becoming experts at everything except living? You know the codes, the shortcuts, the processes, but he forgot how to listen to his own heart. Because the system doesn't want you to feel, it wants you to function. And that's why the most successful people are often the ones who cry alone the most. Because they did everything right, except for one thing. They forgot to be human along the way. In the logic of efficiency, error is failure. Doubt is weakness. Pausing is a waste of time. But Weber saw the opposite. Being human is not a problem to be fixed. It is an essence that needs to be protected. The modern world, however, was designed for the opposite. If you feel too much, you are emotional. If you question yourself, you are unstable. If you rest, you are unproductive. If you refuse to depersonalize, you are difficult to deal with. In other words, the more you insist on being whole, the more the system tries to mold you. Max Weber showed us that modern rationality has replaced vocation with function. Before, someone worked as an extension of themselves. It was part of a job, a mission. Today, you just do what the job requires. And if you try to put your soul into it, you will be called inefficient. The problem is not progress. It's that in the name of progress, we are formatting people. You can't have a bad day. You can't lose focus. You can't show vulnerability. You need to perform, deliver, overcome, smile every day, even if it's breaking inside. And so we create a world where efficiency requires you to stop being human in order to be accepted. How many talents have been silenced because they didn't fit in? How many artists have become apathetic employees? How many caregivers have become exhausted analysts? How many creative souls have become operational bodies? And the cruelest? You start to think the problem is you. You feel weak, slow, inadequate, when in reality you're just trying to exist in a system that only tolerates robotized versions. Weber called this disenchantment, the loss of beauty, of mystery, of that which serves no purpose, except to remind you that you are still alive. And perhaps that's why so many people desperately seek productivity even in their free time, courses, routines, optimizations. as if resting were only valid if it brought results. You can't even suffer in peace. You need to turn it into a lesson. Post motivational phrases. Stay strong. Keep up appearances. But the truth is different. You don't have to function all the time. You need to find yourself again. And perhaps when you stop rushing to please a world that only measures, only demands, only evaluates, you will feel again. And then, even living within the modern structure, you will have regained what it tried to steal: your humanity. Max Weber did not write about the future with cynicism. He did not just want to denounce the loss of humanity. He wanted to wake up those who were still willing to feel it. Because for him, the tragedy of modern efficiency is not just living in a cold world, is to become cold inside. Rationalization, productive logic, perfect structure, all of these are useful. But when usefulness becomes the absolute criterion, what cannot be measured begins to disappear. And what cannot be measured is precisely what makes us human: the silence that consoles. The hug that solves nothing but cures everything. The art that doesn't make a profit but expands the soul. The prayer that no one sees. The pause you need but can't justify. These things are being pushed to the corners of existence, turned into luxuries when they were always necessities. Weber warned, if efficiency wins, what will remain is a world that is functional but devoid of meaning, rich in data but poor in soul, full of connections but lacking in affection, full of voices but with very few ears. So what to do? Weber's answer was never destruction, it was awareness. You can live in the modern world, use its tools, thrive, but you can't forget who you are. You can hit goals, but you can't betray yourself. You can produce, but you can't erase yourself. You can win this game, but don't forget that you are more than the role they gave you. Because deep down, true resistance is not about dropping everything and running to the mountains. It is about remaining whole within a system that tries to fragment you. It is about remembering your soul even in the midst of the machine. It is about acting with compassion even under pressure. It is about preserving silence even amidst the noise. Weber left us this legacy. The sacred still exists, but now it hides in small acts, in an unhurried look, in an uncalculated gesture, in a work done with love even if no one notices. This is how you beat the iron cage, not by breaking the bars, but by not letting them get inside you. And perhaps, in the end, this is the greatest efficiency possible: to remain human in a world that has forgotten what that means.